Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the URUAV UZ85, powered by 1102 10,000 kV motors on GemFan 2023 2-inch props. All-in-one board has your VTX, your receiver, your ESC, and your flight controller, which is the Crazy Bee X. Caddx Ant Light FPV camera with yet a different lens. They've taken the power connector off of this side, but we still have the camera control connector. It comes with the camera control board, a few extra screws, and this quick guide manual because it is a kit. You do have to assemble it. Motor post, I am getting 85 millimeters. It weighs 34.5 grams. Outside, I flew it on this 450 milliamp 2S Cotter battery, which brings the weight to just under 63 grams. Inside, I flew it on this G&B 350 milliamp 2S battery, which brings the weight to just about 55 grams. It's worth noting before we get started on that flight footage that this month is Banggood's big sale, their 11/11 sale, and it's already started. Hopefully I can get this video out in somewhat of a timely manner. So down in the video description, I have got a Google Doc sheet that you can look through all the different products. Some of them have coupon codes. Some of them are just on promo right now. Maybe some of those products you were already looking at and you were just kind of saving your money, and maybe the price point has come down enough to where maybe they'll be attainable. But you have those, as well as the generic 11/11 links to their product pages that have various sales. There's a few things that are noteworthy in there. There's a couple of whoops in there. The UR65, I believe, is in there. The AE65 is also in there. They've got goggles from Sky Zone in that sale. There's motors, there's backpacks, there's, I'm looking here, there's a couple of Sin Whoops in there as well. We've got the Beta FPV 95 or 85X, excuse me. There's a couple of ready-to-fly kits to where you get the remote and everything in there. So that's all down in the links down in the video description. If you want to click those links and check out those products and see what the price point is, those are affiliate links. So I do earn, or the channel earns, a small commission. Doesn't cost you anything additional. If you don't like that sort of thing, you can just type in your search engine Banggood 11/11 sale, and the first link that comes up should be one that takes you to the product pages on Banggood. Well, let's move on to the flights. So we're going to start off with the inside flight because I think most of the people who come to this channel kind of expect that. And this flight is going to have several crashes in it because I found this to be very twitchy and very sensitive when it comes to the precision that's needed inside. And I know there are things you can do. You can do a throttle cut, you can do a throttle curve, you can tame down that throttle. But I think for most people, this isn't going to be very sustainable for flying inside a home, especially if you want to do anything more than kind of a slow forward hover. You might be able to cruise. So I really don't feel like this is inside the home, but if you have access to a big office building, a warehouse, a gym, something of that nature, it's going to be much more sustainable to fly it inside those spaces. Now, normally, I'm an advocate for flying hoops inside. In this particular case, I think this is primarily going to be an outside hoop. But there is also the ability to buy this on sale now. I believe it's on sale now. At least, hopefully, by the time you're watching this, it's still on sale. That you can then transition these parts over to something else that you want to fly. Oh, see? Already a crash. So you could maybe buy some sort of frame, some sort of bottom carbon fiber plate, and then put it on all the components on that and fly it outside without the prop guard. So that'll be a little bit more sustainable. Geez. And yet another crash. I am getting used to a new radio still, the Tango 2 with the multi-protocol module. PK Stefan, he had recommended that, and I decided to try because I can fly outside fairly effectively, I think, with most radios, but when it comes to the precision that I need inside, I am still searching for something outside of my X-Lite radio in order to be able to fly with the precision that you guys have come to see and I have come to enjoy. So some of this isn't all about the quad, it's a little bit about me getting used to a new radio. I know there are many people who are huge advocates, I've heard from several of you, for the Tango 2. I'm not saying it's not a bad radio, this is just about that feel that I need, and I'm going to give myself some more time with it. I have tried the Radio Master, the Radio Kings, the Jumpers, and that size of radio, I just don't think I'm coming around to being able to fly them effectively inside. So I'll continue to work on that. There is an issue with the canopy, and it kind of creates a stop point to where you can't really lower the camera or put the camera right in a particular spot, and I'll talk about that more at the desk. I'll probably also mention it during the outside flight footage in case anybody has fast forwarded to that sort of flight footage, in case, it's a little something that I think is important, that, when you have camera angle, you kind of natively expect to get all the variable degrees of camera angle, but this one you don't necessarily, but you might be able to get it back by making a slight modification to the canopy. Got the Caddx Ant inside here, so you get to see the inside view with daylight outside. Quite a bit of sun coming through those windows, and you might notice that, oh, it's been a couple weeks now, but we get some new sliding glass doors. They actually weren't sliding glass doors previously. They were the typical hinged doors, but these will be much more economical as far as keeping the hot and cold weather out, as well as making them more accessible to be able to just walk out. Some of you might notice that my wife's desk that used to sit over there during this work from home period is no longer over there, so she's actually set up upstairs. But part of the reason why we wanted the new doors was we wanted to get the opening on the other side, which sliding doors make that a whole lot easier. But that just about wraps up the inside flight. We're going to get about 3 minutes and 25 seconds. The ending voltage on the battery does come down to above our typical ending voltage of 3.5 volts per cell, so you could fly it a little bit longer inside, provided you have the space. Here we go, the outside flight. Nice calm day, so this is one of the few days I actually thought that I could fly this fairly well, you know, because whenever you have that prop protection, wind does have a dramatic effect, and we have had a lot of high wind days. Some of you may have seen my Facebook posting about flying the quad. It wasn't this particular quad, but you'll notice in that picture versus what we're seeing here, dramatic difference in the number of leaves that we have on the ground, and that's because the wind really came up and cause problems. Now this one does have yaw washout. I did not tinker with the tune. It does seem to come with a custom tune that I thought was pretty reasonable, but if you do dives, and we'll see one here a little bit later in the flight, you'll note that it'll pitch up uncontrollably and yaw. I believe it's to the right a little bit. But as far as a 2S whoop-based quad, it does fly pretty well for outside. It's got good punch, good pump. You'll see me pump over the shed a few times. You'll see me already a couple of times do that one over the shrub there at the corner of the yard. And, you know, for outside flying, this is very reasonable. It's very controllable. I think I could have used more camera angle outside. I kept it at the same camera angle that I used inside. So that's might be a little bit of a result of you're looking at this as having a lack of speed. My camera angle isn't quite what it is. You'll also notice that we have a little bit of the camera in, or the canopy in view at the lower right and lower left. You may find the opposite if you max out the camera angle to where you get a little bit of canopy in view in the top right and top left. So that's something to be aware of. Do think I'm going to run the battery either too low or I'm going to have a crash right near the end of the flight here. Oh, here's the crash I was speaking of. I thought it was coming up, but I took back off. That's something to be careful about. Taking off when you're in the grass. If you have an obstructed prop and the props can't spin, if you try to arm, you may end up popping an ESC. I've said it many, many times. Turtle mode, of course, when you've got a prop obstructed via grass, leaf, stick, what have you, blanket, coat, anything. If the prop can't move and you use turtle mode or you arm, there is a really high risk on these all-in-one boards that you could burn an ESC. These Crazy Bee boards, I don't know if they've had some of the issues that we've seen of past iterations of these all-in-one boards. These are mainly what I'm talking about is 5 amp boards. Usually when you get up to the 12 amp board, depending upon your motor prop and cell combination on your battery, you may have more overhead when you're arming and you have an obstructed prop. But if you give it throttle, you know, that's when the risk and the danger comes in. I think this is where we're going to see the... Yeah, it starts to want to pull. You kind of see it when I was coming back down, even though that was fairly muted, that it wanted to pull. And I think this is the one where we're going to actually see it kind of yaw wash out. There we go. We got the pitch up and a little bit of yaw around to the right. So if you're out doing dives with this thing, you're probably going to need to either mess with the tune a little bit or do your dives sooner in the battery so you have more voltage to control the motor or the prop combination. Speaking of the camera, I did find that the canopy has like a notch in it. We'll talk about this a little bit at the desk, to where the camera doesn't want to kind of sit in the middle of the canopy. It kind of wants to be above or below this notch or squeeze point in the canopy. Of course, you can remedy that. You can use some sandpaper to kind of sand those little notches down. It's not an intentional knot. It's just part of the canopy design, and the fact that the lens has got those notches on the outside edge, it just kind of catches on there. Oh, we've ended the flight as I looked away, and we have a total flight time of 3 minutes and 29 seconds, and our battery did recover to 3.5 volts per cell, in this case because it's 2 cell, 7 volts. There isn't a lot to talk about here except for the camera. I think this canopy is going to be pretty durable. Of course, it's getting cold. It can be cold pretty much any time of year globally, but here in the northern hemisphere, we're settling into winter, and so be careful about crashing this when it's really cold outside. I don't know how well this will hold up when it gets down below the freezing temperatures. Plastic can end up being brittle, so it's something to consider. And we also have, it's somewhat of a new frame design. You can see all the supports we have around the whoop. I think we've got, what, 8 contact points around each whoop, and then we've got 4 from kind of building up the frame there a little bit. Let me loosen this camera so I can talk about that notching here in a little bit. You see where I have my camera angle right now? That is just above kind of the catch point. So I've got my camera loosened here a little bit. I'm going to just try to show you this a little bit. See how it's kind of sticking there? There, and then it clicks down below that. So that's what I was talking about previously. You may find you need to use a little sandpaper. This canopy isn't providing any lens protection, so it really wouldn't hurt you all that much to shave a little bit. You know, a millimeter off of each side might do it. Hopefully that doesn't compromise the durability of the canopy. But I noticed that when I was trying to fly it inside, mainly I was wanting to tinker with my camera angle a little bit, and it just kind of, oh, it's kind of stiff. Oh, come on, back up here. Well, I don't want to bugger up the lens, but that's... No, I was flying it above that. Come on, camera. Let's go back up. There we go. And you can hear it when it kind of snaps, too. Of course, this is the max. I was flying slightly below max. I would put it up here and then push it down and then tighten it up. That's about where I was flying it at. That's really... It's a minor thing, but depending upon how much you're wanting to tinker when you buy something like this, it could be a bigger deal. So I'm mentioning it here just to make sure you know when you look at something like this that you might want to make a modification to that canopy, a little bit of sanding paper, or even a knife of some sort. Just kind of pull the camera out and then grind those edges right where that camera meets on this point. Maybe I can use my screwdriver here. Right here at this point is where I think it's catching. Just grind that back a little bit. Also, because the way the camera is mounted in there, it's kind of got a U-mount, just like we saw with the AE65. That's how they mount these cameras, because they don't have screw points in them. So you do find that the camera, if a camera takes a hit and you don't break it, that it could shove it back inside the canopy. And I just take my finger, my pinky finger, and shove it back through. I had that happen, a couple of times. So mainly most of the issues that I'm talking about here have to do with the camera or the canopy mounting. I did break this brace down here. You can see I used some super glue to glue it back in place. The batteries do fit pretty snugly, and I was flying it outside, and it was cool out. It wasn't cold. I would say it was probably about 47 degrees Fahrenheit, which is actually quite comfortable for this time of year. But on one of those crashes that I had in the outside flight, and I don't think it was the one I showed you, I think it was one of the others, probably wanged it into the swing set or something, that this did break. Of course, you can get around that if this breaks entirely up, or you don't want to repair it by snipping it off with some wire snips or a knife or something, and then taking a battery strap either around this way, or you could use it this way. I would prefer myself to go this way with my battery strap, just because you have more material on each side here, rather than relying on these little pieces between the battery tray in order to hold your battery and your battery strap. But it's just a thought. You can do it however you want. You don't have to use the battery tray. So if you wanted to use a bigger battery and possibly get more flight time depending upon your flight style, that is an opportunity. There's a little bit of weight we could shave off if you wanted to get some maximum performance. You could cut this little notch out here. See how it kind of, this round piece comes up right there. There's a good shot of it right there. You could cut this off. You could also cut these little parts off here. In other frames we've seen where they've put an LED strip back here. There are probably some other opportunities that you could take to trim little bits of the plastic off in order to save some weight. But that gets pretty extreme once you get outside of kind of just those two pieces. But that is something you can do. As I said a few times in the video, for me, this is an outside flying whoop. Or you buy it to transition it to a traditional carbon fiber base plate to where you can fly a 2S toothpick and do it really cheaply. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the section down below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.